Hello and thanks for joining us for a special Eyewitness News presentation, Veterans' Voices, honoring those who serve. The sacrifices the men and women of our armed forces make is something that should never be taken for granted.
Their selflessness and actions ensure our freedom every day. And for the next half hour, we'll look at some of the unique stories involving veterans right here in the state line. We begin with a story years in the making involving a small group of determined veterans. In 2019, they came up with a plan to save an F-4 Phantom to honor those who flew in combat and all who supported them. But first, they had to figure out a way to move the plane from New Mexico to Lena, Illinois. And that was just the start of their journey. A metal pylon standing in the center of Lena has raised a lot of questions over the last 2 years.
People have been wondering what's going to go on. They keep saying, when are you going to move it? When are you going to move it? So luckily today is the day, and we're just thrilled to death for it.
This project has been years in the making. It's been the vision of a dedicated group of veterans in Northwest Illinois. On October 22nd, they saw their plan that began as a long shot nearly completed.
It was kind of a whim to say, well, let's apply for a plane, because we found out there was 2 left. And we put the paperwork in, and we never thought anything would happen. And then lo and behold, they said, well, Lena American Legion, we're going to give the last plane to you.
The F-4 Phantom II was trucked from an Air Force base in New Mexico to Lena, arriving on a very memorable day.
Well, the plane was delivered on January 30th, 2019. When we pulled in and out of rafters along Route 20, and it was 28 below.
The committee faced a number of hurdles over the years, including COVID and supply chain issues. But their commitment to fulfilling their mission never wavered.
People have asked, why is it important? So, well, the cemeteries are full of memorials and veterans displays, whether they be in Stockton or Lena or Winslow or Oregon or Rockford. It's important to think back. A lot of sacrifices.
They hope the service memorial serves as a history lesson for future generations.
Remembrances of what the plane was used for and the people that served during that particular time. And hopefully we don't have to keep doing it.
We get kind of emotional about it, so we feel great.
Now that the centerpiece of the memorial is in place, the committee will focus on finishing the park next spring. It will include benches, flags, and memorial pavers. Anyone interested in purchasing a personalized paver can contact the Northwest Illinois Aerial Combat Memorial Committee. Ahead on Veterans Voices, the greatest generation.
No, they're all gone. They're all gone.
A local World War II veteran is the last remaining member of his unit. He shares his story of enlisting and serving overseas and the struggle of returning home. Welcome back. They are considered the greatest generation, the men and women who served in World War II.
I sat down with one of the last survivors. After returning from World War II, he came back to Rockford to work and raise his family. Inside this home, on full display in his basement.
You gotta excuse the mess down here because I think I'm in the process of getting the things out of the way. And
are the memories and memorabilia of the time Sam Caruana spent in the Army, including serving in World War II.
I got a pretty good memory.
Not that he needs any reminders. At age 103, his memory is fully intact, down to the day and date.
I went in November of 42, on Friday the 13th. I was really too young to really realize what was happening. Just went along with, you did what they told you to do.
Caruana served with the 104th Infantry Division, nicknamed the Timberwolves. He was a Corporal Field Artillery radio operator.
That's a group that went ahead of your company to look for targets for the artillery to shoot at. I spent a lot of time in church steeples. Look at me, you had to be up high.
He saw all the spoils of war, but at age 21, the magnitude of it all lost on him at first. until he helped clear a concentration camp, witnessing horror up close.
We saw some things that you don't want to remember. We were one of 3 units that cleared that camp.
His proudest moment, though, had nothing to do with combat, but rather camaraderie.
The friends that I made, because our lives depended on each other. Yeah, they're like your brothers.
His best friend was Andy from Pennsylvania. They met while serving.
No, this is Andy.
Andy's gone now.
No, they're all gone. They're all gone.
Caruana is the last of his unit. He made it home, got a job as a printer in Rockford, and raised his 3 kids. But he admits it wasn't so simple.
You really had to adjust because everything was strange.
Strange and even hard. But today he's thankful for his journey, and even more so for the recognition of his service.
It's still vivid in my memory. I'll never forget it.
A fact he hopes that those who love this country won't either. He's just so sharp and just so incredible to me. Every year, a state law organization takes a group of World War II veterans to Washington, D.C.
Vets Roll started 16 years ago. This year, the brothers behind it are honored.
It's just incredible to see how this has evolved over the years. We are still blessed. We're the greatest generation.
The Board's Outreach Committee.
Into the Beloit Historical Society Hall of Fame. Their father was a World War II Navy veteran, but died before being able to see the memorials in Washington, D.C. When the Finnegans learned of the Honor Flight Network, they decided to make a trip with local veterans in 2010. And next May, they will take their 14th trip to the nation's capital with 200 local veterans.
Next month, many of those veterans are invited to a special event at Hard Rock Casino Rockford. Pearl Harbor, 83 years later, honoring the greatest generation. Veterans, as well as Rosie the Riveters, 96 years old and older, are invited. To find out more, go to our website, mystateline.com.
Coming up, Family Connections.
Coming up on Veterans Voices, meet a local woman inspired to serve thanks to the generations before her.
Plus, finding their place when they return home. Welcome back. One veteran in the area comes from a unique background.
Rianne Weil sat down with Evelyn Scott, a Navy veteran who volunteers for Lifescape and the Veterans Drop-In Center. Evelyn's family has a military history, and she took the time to share her experiences at sea.
Going into the service was probably one of the best things I've ever done in my life.
Evelyn Scott joined the Navy in 1987, but her military story doesn't begin there.
My dad was Navy, my grandfather was Navy, my other grandfather was Army, Air Force. That's what motivated me.
Evelyn's family has a history of service, but she made her own history by becoming the first woman in her family to join the military.
My family was very proud of me, and when I would come home, because I didn't get to come home often, but when I did come home, you know, they showed me love, a lot of love.
On top of all of the challenges that already come with the military, Evelyn had a son at the time who traveled from place to place with her.
If there were military wives, they would watch your kids for you. If you had to go out to sea for any period of time, you really needed somebody that you could depend on that would treat your child just like it was theirs. Not only that, but my son got to grow up traveling.
Evelyn was primarily on the seas. One of the most impactful moments from her time is when Evelyn says she was in Cuba preparing for the worst.
They would announce, this is not a drill, this is not a drill, you know, as though you were really being hit by a missile or the ship was about to sink. That's when you saw everybody come together and work together to make sure the 1,000 people on board that ship didn't die. That's when it kind of hit me that this is really real.
Evelyn's cousin Kai Davidson says she believes the military shaped Evelyn into who she is today.
She loves her family. She is always reaching out whenever we're in need. She goes above and beyond to ensure that she takes care of her family.
Evelyn says so many hardships and lessons came out of her experience, but she says she wouldn't change it for the world.
I wanted to see places. I wanted to go out there and meet different people. All the things that my mom was telling me. There's so much out there in this world to see, and God made this world for all of us to go see. So Just don't stay still. Go find your place.
Evelyn says her grandson has also recently entered the military, something she says she is absolutely proud of. Reporting in Rockford for your home team, I'm Rianne Weil.
While the GI Bill is widely recognized for its support in veterans pursuing higher education, it's expanded now to include trade schools.
Brian Will introduces us to 2 veterans getting the skills needed for in-demand careers.
Getting the right tools for the job. Former Marine Corporal David Wyke is learning how to use a different set of tools than he used in the military.
My dad was always good at fixing things. I wanted to fix things.
Now he's fixing things like this sink alongside classmate and Navy veteran Evan Wolford.
I've actually been surprised by the plumbing program and how much I've liked it.
This is one of the many classrooms here where veterans are learning trade skills like electrical, plumbing, and HVAC here at the National Technical Institute.
With 41% of the current construction workforce planning to retire by 2031, these programs play an important role to fill the gap. For these veterans, the program is covered by their GI Bill benefits. Cody Wilson, a former plumber, now the campus director of NTI, knows how important the trade jobs are to the Valley and how these veterans can help.
In their transition time, or even, some come in years after they've been out of the military, but they're still trying to find what it is they want to do after that. And to be able to give them, one, a skill set and even a direction or a hope to what they want to be in the future is really cool.
For these 2 veterans, they will be graduating from this program in December, a new way to serve for those who have already given their country so much.
That was Brian Wills reporting. So coming up on Veterans Voices, pets healing vets.
Pit bulls are seriously underrated dogs that are completely misunderstood. And oddly enough, so are veterans sometimes.
A constant companion for veterans returning home from war. Welcome back. After living in a war zone, coming back to civilian life can be a challenge for those serving our country.
Chelsea Helms found one veteran. The support he needs at home comes from the form of a 4-legged friend.
Goofball. So this is Ruby.
It's a companionship that started with a simple smell.
Yes, thank you. Hi.
She walked over to me, took one sniff, laid down next to me, and it was done.
I know.
Her and I knew that fast. Girl, wait.
Over the last year and a half, Army Sergeant First Class Scott Anderson and his dog Ruby have created an immeasurable bond.
We just out for a walk.
The best way I can explain it is she ended up being what we didn't even know was missing.
You get it.
He was paired with the foster dog through the Humane Society for Hamilton County's Pets Healing Vets program.
We like to say that it's a little battle buddy and just someone they can relate to. It's 24/7 therapy. They can go to the VA and get prescriptions and counseling, but this is a steadfast companion for these veterans.
Scott's a 23-year Army veteran whose service to our country continues in the reserves. He spent 16 years of his military career in active duty. He's deployed 3 times to Iraq, twice to Afghanistan, and a stateside deployment in Texas.
You find yourself for a little while avoiding, trash bags on the side of the road or little things.
Returning to civilian life after 2+ decades of serving has been a challenge for Scott.
When you've spent, 57 months in a combat zone, you have some emotions about that, and it's okay to talk about that.
And that's where Ruby comes in. She doesn't replace the traditional therapy Scott receives for his post-traumatic stress injury. Rather, she's a constant support, like when he's having a nightmare.
She'll come up on the bed if she's not there, or she'll move in the bed to a point where she can help me cope and get through that. She'll nudge my wife to let my wife know, hey, something's going on.
Even comforting him at times during our interview.
I absolutely love what the 4th of July stands for sure. It's probably one of the more difficult holidays for me just because of the way we celebrate. And whatnot.
Fireworks and all that stuff.
Fireworks and the lights and that kind of stuff.
Scott's one of 40 veterans across Indiana who've been paired with a foster dog through the Pets Healing Vets program. The Humane Society for Hamilton County covers 100% of pre- and post-adoption expenses.
Train the animal. We will provide them monthly food, annual vaccines, preventatives, even emergency care, hospitalization, and boarding for the life of every pet in the program.
Finding a place for foster animals with those who struggle with where they belong.
Many of the animals that have been waiting at shelters for months on end, some even years, become incredibly stressed and potentially do face euthanasia due to their behavior. And we hope that Pets Healing Vets can find the veterans who might benefit from these animals to swoop in and save them.
In Ruby's case, she was emaciated when she got to the shelter, likely used for breeding at one time.
She's a good girl.
After living with Scott's family, you can see she's now happy and healthy.
Pit bulls are seriously underrated dogs that are completely misunderstood. And oddly enough, so are veterans sometimes. People try to relate, but they can't with what we've been through.
Good girl.
An unbreakable bond that grew from trust, loyalty, and a shared resilience, now marked by tail wags and unconditional love.
I love you too.
I'm proud of my military service, 100% glad of what I've done for my country, and I'm glad to find out that there are programs like this out there that will help us through things and we don't have to suffer in silence.
Coming up on Veterans Voices, honoring those who served.
Some of the state line's youngest spending the day in school to learn more about the importance of this day.
Welcome back. Many veterans in the state line started their special day with a free breakfast.
They were invited to spend the morning at Hard Rock Casino, Rockford. The camaraderie also featured a lineup of veterans who shared their experiences and insights. State Rep Dave Vela says we should thank veterans not only today, but every day.
What these veterans have done and we'll have World War II veterans, we'll have veterans all the way who just got out of the military. What they have done, the sacrifice they've made, I think at least once a year, if not every day of the year, we owe them a thank you. So I figured a free breakfast and just a heartwarming thank you from politicians, Republican, Democrat, and Independent, is going to be important.
Representative Vela says his grandfather who served helped him, inspired him to host the breakfast.
Students at Brookview Elementary School honored family members who served this morning. They learned about the significance of Veterans Day and sang patriotic songs. The kids collected coins and money for Vets Roll. This year, the school worked together to raise more than $1,200. Brookview's principal says the assembly gives students an opportunity to learn about vets in the community.
I think they learned today what a veteran really is, how they protect us. I think they learned all the veterans in our community. I heard them cheering for each other as their veteran was announced today. Wow, I didn't know one child had like 4 or 5 veterans here. And that's a huge accomplishment for our students, is just to be able to recognize their family members and have them be part of their school day.
The money for Vets Roll will be used to help bus veterans to our nation's capital during a trip in May. Next Saturday, the U.S. Navy will commission a warship named after Beloit.
The USS Beloit is ready to set sail. It was completed a few years ago. It's just one of 4 to be named after Wisconsin cities. What makes this ship special, though, it's just not named after the city. It will be powered by the men and women of Beloit, as well as the 16-cylinder diesel engines on the ship were made at Fairbanks Morse Defense in Beloit. The factory employs around 250 people and has been powering U.S. Navy ships and submarines since 1926. The USS Beloit will officially join the fleet with a commissioning ceremony on the 23rd. 85 sailors and officers will board the ship under the command of Commander Leandra Kissinger of Milwaukee.
And we thank you for joining us for this special.
Good night.